Have you noticed the mole you've had most of your life looks a little different now? Here's your reminder to get it checked out, as it could be skin cancer, one of the most common forms of cancer in the United States. Now, the good news is it's also one of the most preventable and treatable types of cancer when caught early. And that's the good news, and that's what we're talking about today. Hi, everyone. I'm Olga Villaverdi, your host for today's discussion, coming to you from the Baptist Health Newsroom. May, by the way, is National Skin Cancer and Melanoma Awareness Month. And here to talk to us about the importance of protecting your skin and the dangers of skin cancer, we're joined by the chief of the Skin Cancer Clinic at Miami Cancer Institute, Dr. Naiara Braghiroli. Great to have you, Dr. Braghiroli.
Thank you so much for having me here, Olga.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, doctor. And we're also joined by skin cancer survivor Stephanie Leisure. Happy to have you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Now, we're going to talk a lot today to Stephanie and the doctor, but before we dive into today's subject, I want to remind our viewers to send in your questions and comments in the comments throughout the discussion. We're here for you, of course, and happy to answer all your questions here today. So, Stephanie, I definitely want to start with you. You are a skin cancer survivor. Congratulations. You're looking fabulous. Tell us a little bit about how you knew something was wrong and how you got diagnosed. Let's go back in time a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have to say this really journey started about 5 years ago, where being older, I started to noticing more of my moles that were changing and being more prominent. So then started going to the dermatologist, and then concerns were raising to where visiting the dermatologist every 6 months. And in this particular situation, I was actually getting a Mohs treatment for on my abdomen. And while I was speaking to the doctor, I was saying, hey, since I'm here, can we do a biopsy here on my shoulder? This mole I'm starting to really notice is changing in color and diameter. And then from there, took a closer look and was like, yes, we for sure need to be able to do a biopsy on. And then that's when the results came back of showing a melanoma. But, having that conversation with the doctor while having another procedure done.
Stephanie, I love how proactive you were. And doctor, I want to talk about this because she recognized, she was concerned, she asked the questions, she advocated for herself. I mean, Stephanie, it could have gone a lot worse, but yet you were your best advocate at that moment.
Absolutely.
That's important. Doctor, I want to talk about that after we just first discussed the fact that she was noticing things, right? And we always talk about the ABCDEs of melanoma. Can we talk about that? And then, of course, discuss how she went, okay, something's not right. Let me go see somebody.
Of course. So thank you for sharing your history, Stephanie. And actually, this is a very important point because 75% of the melanomas, they are found by the patient itself or some relative. So you know your body better than anybody. So we have different type of skin cancers, but you're talking now about the melanoma. We always talk about the ABCD. What is the classic acronym for the melanoma? A for asymmetry, so any lesion on the skin that has one side different from the other side. B is for irregular borders, the borders that are not well defined. C for color, multiple colors, when the lesion has more than one, light brown, dark brown, pink. A melanoma can be pink or skin color as well. D for diameter bigger than 6 millimeters. And E, nowadays you use E as well, is for involving, for any change on previous moles. So you know that melanoma, 80% of the case happens on your normal skin. We call de novo melanoma. So anything new on the skin should be checked. So you don't have new moles after 30, 35 years old. So for kids, they can have new moles when they're growing, but after a certain age, you should not have new moles. So any new lesions on the skin should be checked. Okay, there are a certain percentage of the moles that can turn to melanoma, about 20%, and usually in patients that has what you call dysplastic nevi syndrome, like a lot of moles of different size and shape. Then any change on previous moles in terms of textures, or if it start to raise, or if it start to itch, if it start to bleed, all these are red flags to have this mole checked.
And doctor, I want to talk about risk factors, but first, I know a lot of people can identify with this. I once had a mole in the back, and it was just like my mom's, and it kept on growing and growing, and I checked it out, and it was nothing, but the doctor said, let's just take it out. Let's just remove it. Why is that done?
Well, so nowadays you have enough instruments and technology to avoid unnecessary biopsies. Okay, you have the dermatoscope, you have confocal microscopy. So nowadays you can be very confident when you biopsy something. But sometimes we don't know. Sometimes a very equivocal lesion and needs a biopsy to confirm.
Mm-hmm.
So I said that moles are very rare to appear after a certain age, but there are other benign lesions like seborrheic keratosis or like you call sunspots that happens after a certain age. And you as a patient may not know what is the difference. So this should be checked. So
Exactly.
with your dermatologist, they look and they are concerned, they're going to biopsy. If not, they can just monitor or reassure the patient. But sometimes if the lesion is itchy or the patient is complaining that the area is being traumatized, maybe the doctor may recommend an excision as well. So depend what it is.
And doctor, if you don't mind, let's go over risk factors, because I know Stephanie is pretty fair-skinned, and I know people that are fair-skinned are at more risk than others. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very important point. So we know that anybody can have skin cancer, and any skin cancer, especially melanoma, can happen any part of the skin. It's more common on the area that are more exposed to the sun, of course, but also can happen on the mucosa, inside the mouth, on the genitalia, on the palms, the soles, inside the eye. So can happen in any place. So skin cancer is more common a patient that has what you call phototype, a low photo skin type, like light skin, blonde, red hair, light color, eyes color, that person that burns easily, that does not tan easily. So they are more prone to have skin cancer. But again, any patient can have skin cancer in any part of the body. So this is talking about the person predisposition for skin cancer, but there are other risk factors, environment risk factors that you're going to probably talk about as well.
Exactly. Stephanie, let me bring you back in. So now that you have been through this journey, what is Stephanie doing now to protect herself? Are you incorporating more sunscreen? Are you wearing the clothes? What have you incorporated in your life?
I say the biggest change is now wearing a rash guard as my bathing suit. Living in Florida, we always want to, wear our skimpy bathing suits, and bringing sexy into the rash guard of making sure for the shoulders being protective, for my arms, for these areas that are very sensitive from overexposure, even the chest area. I would have to say that's definitely been the number one thing that I've changed in my life. And then also too of just daily sunscreen, looking at makeup and seeing, okay, what's the SPF in this, and what I'm putting on my face or even the rest of my body, to making sure that there's SPF, because we all know in Florida too, just going to, say in the grocery store,
Yes.
and right there you're not thinking, oh, it's just a quick trip in, but that's still being exposed to the sun, and that could just put you right over.
Such a great point, Stephanie. And doctor, it's so true. Some people think that just holding, the steering wheel in the car and of course you're getting sun. In fact, I'm starting to see the freckles coming out in my hands. I think I'm going to put like these little, gloves on soon, because I'm getting sun when I'm driving. But I want to talk about SPF, the great debate with SPF. I want you to clear it up, doctor. You see SPF 15, 30, 40, 50, 70, 80, and 100. Okay. Tell me what we should be doing and the application.
Sure. So the SPF stands for sun protection factor, right? It's the number that you have there on the label of the sunscreen that tell how long will take to get burned. So the study is done like 15. Usually it's tested like after 15 minutes, the patient gets the erythematous skin, the red skin. So that's how this number is calculated. So technically, if you put on your skin the right amount of sunscreen, indeed, any number greater than 30 would have a similar protection. So 30 would protect more than 97%, and then 50, 99, and 99.5 for 70. So it doesn't change much. But in reality, the study showed that we don't put the right amount of sunscreen on your skin. So ideally, it should be 1 tablespoon of sunscreen for your face, 1 for each arms, 1 for each legs, 1 for front, and 1 for back. This is equivalent of 35 grams of sunscreen. Who does that? It's very, very difficult.
Very difficult, doctor.
Very difficult, right? So that's why other ways to protect with sun protection clothing, hats, they're all like welcome because they are convenient. If you put the right amount of sunscreen, 30 is the number. Okay, but in reality, we don't put the right number. And what they study have showed that if you put the way you would do on a routine like day, it's the equivalent of the half of that number. So the amount that we put, the population put on the skin, the 30 actually they are protecting only as a 15. So the 50 as 25. So you do recommend the patient to go higher on the number because of that, to try to compensate that factor that you're not applying the right amount.
And doctor, we're not just talking about, because in my mind, and this is where shame on me, right? In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so when I go to the beach or when I go running, or if I go to the park, or I'm doing something outside, but this is daily, every day, regardless if you're just going to the beach or going to go get a tan or anything, right?
Yeah, you live in Miami, right? You live in Florida. We have sun all over the long year. And when you drive, as you mentioned, you also get sun exposure. We do have a lot of pictures and documentation of like drivers that drive for many years and they have the left side of the face with a lot of sun damage and wrinkles and the right side not that much, because the glass, the window does block the UVB type of rays, but does not block the UVA. And nowadays, we know that both UVA and UVB can cause skin cancer. So another factor that you should check when you buy your sunscreen is not only the number, is not only the SPF, but also if it is a broad spectrum sunscreen, that means that it's going to protect you against the UVB, but also the UVA. That's important. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you, doctor. Stephanie, as the doctor is speaking, I see you going like this. Is this something that you learned over time after going through what you went through?
Yes, absolutely. Especially the broad spectrum, looking at the brands. Don't be cheap of just saying, oh, it's the same. It's, both 15 and 15, but really looking, and even like the ingredients and what's making it the broad spectrum. And I'd have to say also too is the reapplying. We so used to it, we put it as just our morning routine, getting ready, but we know that sun sets later, and so making sure too that you are reapplying it as well throughout the day.
And that's so important. Doctor, I'm curious your thoughts, because I try to ask questions sometimes just from a mom to another mom, because I think of my kids when they were little. They could not stand, right? The applying, and the thickness, and I look so white. And then they loved the one with the spray. Your thoughts on the one with the spray? Because I don't want to say anything and I'm not going to give my opinion, but when I see people applying it, half of it just goes up in the air.
Yeah. So the way you apply the sunscreen make a lot of difference. For the little ones, I have kids, I have little kids, and they also want to just run when they get to the beach or the pool. They don't want to wait. And another thing, when you apply the sunscreen, they need to wait 15 minutes before they go to the water. Otherwise, they're going to rinse it off. You're going to remove it. So the protecting clothing are very efficient for the kids. The area they are covered with the protecting clothing, you don't need to put the sunscreen under. So you need to put the sunscreen still on the face, on the ear, on the back, on the hands. But the area that has like almost 50% of the body, if you have a long sleeve shirt, they are protected, right? So it's good to apply before you leave your house, so you have time the sunscreen to be good on the skin or absorbed. And we can talk about the different type of sunscreen, as Stephanie mentioned. Very good point. But they spray. Then spray for the kids, you need to be very careful when you spray to not touch the eyes, because can burn the eyes, can cause problems. And actually, it's like painting a wall. If you paint with the paint itself, the ink, you're going to have a good coverage. If you do for spray, you may need to do 2 or 3 times.
That's right.
So if you prefer, I always say, what is the best sunscreen? The best sunscreen is the one that you can use. Right? The one that you can use, the one that you like, is the one you're going to use. If you don't like, you not use. So if you like the spray is the only one that your kid use, or if you the only one that you like to use to do your sports or to run, use it. You just need to put multiple times. Nowadays, you have different brands with good quality sunscreen, right? So what I recommend is to check the SPF more than 30, broad spectrum, water resistant if you're going to the beach or if you're doing sports and you're going to sweat. Those are very important, and reapplying. If you're doing this, you're good with most of the sunscreen. So there are different types of sunscreen in terms of mineral or chemical sunscreen. The mineral is the one that has zinc oxide or titanium dioxide. Those are the ones safe to use in kids. So the kids should not use the chemical because can be absorbed. If you go to do sports and you're going to sweat, this type of sunscreen lasts longer. So it's better to use on this circumstance. But again, if you prefer to use a chemical one, you cannot stand the mineral one, it's better to use a chemical one than nothing. Right.
Absolutely.
And they're very good brands. So yeah.
Okay. Blue Lizard, you like it? Thumbs up?
This is wonderful. Neutrogena is wonderful. We have La Roche-Posay, Serim, have many options in the market.
Fantastic. I have a question from a viewer. I'd like to take it, doctor, if you don't mind. They're asking, is there a link between retinol and skin cancer?
Opposite link, I would say, opposite relationship. So sometimes you can even use the retinol. There are different type of retinol nowadays is using for most cosmetic reason, but those type of acid cause a light exfoliation on the skin and actually helps to prevent.
I actually have a personal story of how now using the retinoid on my face from all the procedures that I have been going on as for the protection and helping the face out than not putting it out. And I would have never have known that had I not seen the doctor. And now I'm on the retinoid.
So again, it's not to protect against melanoma or something, does not protect against melanoma, but does help with the precancers because cause like a exfoliation of the skin. So you always should check with the dermatologist if it is appropriate for use. But yeah, I see opposite relation with the skin cancer.
Fantastic. Stephanie, thank you for sharing. One last question from a viewer, doctor. It says, is there a link between glycolic acids and other skin product acids and skin cancer? Your thoughts with that one?
I don't have any information on that. So as I said, the glycolic acid is a alpha-hydroxy acid that also causes like very mild exfoliation of the skin and may have a more protective relationship, especially for the precancers, actinic keratosis, than a direct cause.
Okay. And one last question that I have from a viewer, and this is actually from a friend of mine who wanted me to ask you, doctor, but once you get skin damage from too much sun, is that irreversible? Is that something that you can, like those spots on the legs? You know what I'm talking about. Those years in Miami in the 305 years ago where the baby oil was just splattered on all over the place?
Yeah. So nowadays you have so many advanced technologies for cosmetic treatment on the skin. So absolutely. There are lasers machine, there are photodynamic therapy for the precancers that also when you treat the precancers, you also have an improvement of the appearance of the skin. Yes, we do have options.
Fantastic. Stephanie, I see you're wearing a tank top and I so appreciate it because that's your left shoulder. I see the scar. If you can maybe come in a little closer. And I find that to be fascinating because you at least have a reminder there of taking care of yourself. A lot of people don't, right? And they don't take care of their skin. What would you say to those out there that just keep on going out, getting sun, are fair skin like you? What are your thoughts?
I mean, get checked out is my number one thing. And then also too, even with my friends or people that I meet along my journey, it's a conversation piece. I remember a few years ago I had the other side done and I was going actually to the pharmacy to pick up the medication, and she even said, she was like, oh, what happened to your arm? And most people would think, oh, maybe they just broke their shoulder, just of where it's located. And I actually told her, I was like, no, I just went through skin cancer treatment. And I wasn't shy about saying it. You know, I'm proud that I want someone else to be able to go and get checked out, and also to, you know, be cancer free like I now am.
I think that's fantastic, Stephanie, because you're taking a difficult experience, a difficult journey, and you rose above it. But now you can spread that message and touch people's lives. That's got to feel great, because who knows if that person was never using SPF, and because of you, now they are.
Yes, and even also too, you know, I was for sure that person in high school that went to the tanning bed, went to the beach, and then even worked outdoors. And that's why I went to the tanning bed, because, you know, I didn't want to have any tan lines. And, you know, I even talk about that of not saying I'm, you know, unfortunately, I'm not shocked that you know, going through this, but I made sure that, you know, I taking the initiative to go and get checked out and talking to my doctor to saying, oh, I think maybe we need to monitor this, or I'm now changing in age. What, you know, what could I be expecting next, Tim?
Fantastic. Doctor, any final thoughts from you? I mean, it's been a great story to hear this from Stephanie. I mean, she represents so many people who are out there that are at risk, but yet she took charge. She made the difference. A lot of people, unfortunately, don't.
That's amazing. Thank you, Stephanie. It's like turning pain in love. So that's amazing. So the summary is right there. We live in Miami, so protect yourself, use your sunscreen, long sleeve shirt, hat, sunglasses, have fun. I always say my patient enjoy the sunlight because this is good for mental health, but know how to be smart and enjoy the best of the sun. So protection is the key, prevention is the key. Have your skin checked regularly with your dermatologist. That way they can find things very early and avoid a bad outcome.
Absolutely. And when in doubt, check it out, just like I did with that mole, which turned out to be nothing, but they removed it anyway, which it was not even attractive. So I got rid of it. Stephanie, final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, yes, the holiday weekend, summer's coming up, and you know, with the protection, I think also too, especially as females, is our lips as well, and you know, making sure everywhere that you never know, even your hair, part in your hair, those areas too.
That's true. All over. Stephanie, thank you so much. I wish you so much health and happiness. You're so young. You have the world ahead of you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Braghiroli, thank you so much for what you do at Miami Cancer Institute. So appreciate your time. I know how busy you are.
Thank you so much. This is a great opportunity to raise awareness for skin cancer. So thank you, Olga.
Absolutely. Great discussion. Thank you to both of you. Thank you out there for joining us as well. Don't forget that sunblock, SPF 30 or 40 or 50, whatever. Keep applying it. And remember, be sure to hit that subscribe button on our channel here to keep up with the latest health and wellness information and tips from our experts. We've got great experts. You can also connect with us on our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And check out our resource blog for the latest news at baptisthealth.net/news. You'll find a link there to all the episodes of the Baptist Health Talk podcast as well. On behalf of everyone at Baptist Health, stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you so much for watching. Take care.